Look, Rebecca, if it's possible, I would like you to send to me by email the last more information about my writing, if you can. Okay.
Perfect. Will do.
You.
Yeah, not a problem. So welcome to class. We've officially started. We're just talking about how language is, I don't want to say confusing, but there's more to it than just vocabulary and grammar and things. It's being able to use it and then actually feeling the language. And so Ven actually brought up a good point of, the more language that you know, the less you actually know of the language. And it happened to me in Spanish, and I was learning the present simple, and I thought, wow, this is so easy. Spanish is so easy. And then we started learning the past tense, and I thought, oh no, this is terrible. Now you have to not only conjugate, but you have to know in which verb tense, and then the prepositions and all of these different things. And languages are really, really, really complicated. So all you have to do, I think, and Ved just said that self-confidence is the most important. I absolutely agree with that. Hi, Ken. Because if you're not confident, you're not going to speak. And if you don't speak, you can't demonstrate the level that you have. And then you won't, it's talking on the phone is difficult. Speaking in person, speaking to new people. There's all these situations in which, in our own language, we might be uncomfortable with. But when you have to do it in another language, it's that much more difficult. So, Ved, do you have anything else to add? I thought it was a really good comment. So I wanted to start class with that today. Okay. All right, guys. So, Ved, how long have you been learning English?
Since the age of 10.
Okay. Kind of when I started with Spanish, a little bit younger, just because my older brother was learning Spanish and I became interested in it. And so, but then there's also, I've been learning Spanish for 20 years. I've been living in Spain for 7 now. And, you can't even compare when you live in a place and you're immersed in the language compared to, even studying every day, being really interested, watching movies, watching TV. It's not the same of having to go to the store and buy something and communicate and listen and money and numbers. Numbers for me, for some reason, are still difficult in Spanish. I just I can hear the number and I have to process it mentally. I actually have to think about it. Whereas when I hear someone speaking in Spanish, I don't have any problem. I can understand in the same moment. That's not a problem. So there's always going to be something that's challenging and difficult. So thanks, Ved, for that information. I thought it was a really good topic. Ken, I want to ask you, because Ken also has many years of experience in English. So what do you think are the things that are most important for an English learner or anyone who's learning a second, third, fourth, fifth language?
I think for using the internet, speaking for me, because in my daily life, I don't have so many occasions to speak English. So, but other activities, listening, writing. Writing is a bit different, but reading, I can do that, by myself. But speaking, before the internet time, I tried to speak by myself in English, but it was deadly boring. So I stopped doing that. But now there's internet. Because of the internet, and I can talk in English.
Okay.
I believe it improves my English speaking ability as well. Yes.
Okay. Well, speaking is very important. And, as Marcos was saying, he wants to improve writing. Writing, that's great, And so I was looking at his writing activities, and they're good in general. Of course, yes, there are mistakes, but that's not the problem. You can debate on what's the most important in another language. If it's your confidence, if it's communication, I think the communication in general is extremely important. Because if I say door, open, cat, and even with my fingers, there's a whole sign language. You can communicate with your hands. You don't even have to say anything. So, you understand if the door is open and you point to a cat out there, okay, the cat got out. The understanding is there. And so communication is also, I would say, definitely in the top 2 or top 3 of actually understanding and speaking another language. So Perfect. Marcos, do you have any comments for us?
No, I can comment about the German language I'm learning for.
Ooh.
Yes,
Oh
since that
yeah, I
time,
remember.
yeah. I am affectionate to learning language, foreign language. I also have introduction in Spanish, but I gave up because I got confusing. When I try to speak Spanish or Italian, comes out Portuguese, and the part
That's
is like
normal.
mixed. So I try. I have been trying. Also now I have a German teacher, and I encountered problem to speak German. I try to make some short sense, but it's very hard, to learn a foreign language. I don't know why it's so hard to learn a new language because yeah, we
Because
use
you're
English as well.
older. You're
Maybe
older
yeah.
than last year.
I don't know. People say when you start learning foreign language with above 20 years is more hard than when you start young at the age 11 years, right? When you start
Mm-hmm.
very early, you're learning more easy. When you start
Mm-hmm.
older, becoming more difficult, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's because I think your brain. I actually don't know, but I can assume that it's because your brain is growing, and as it's growing, it's. I mean, we have less to worry about when we're younger. If you think about it, something like a kid, he's got ice cream and it falls on the ground. Oh no, it's the end of the world, because that child has nothing else to worry about in that moment except eating the ice cream. So if you think about it like that, whereas we're adults and you see your child eating ice cream, the ice cream falls, okay, maybe I'll buy another one, maybe I'll give him my ice cream, who cares? And so, I mean, you think of things differently, you react differently to the same thing being a child versus adult. And I think that's
Hmm.
part of the reason is, I mean, we're consumed with so many other things. As a child, you can say, okay, repeat this,
Yeah.
and the child can do pretty good. I work with an 8-year-old girl, and she's got my American accent down perfectly. It's really funny, and she can already tell the difference between the British English pronunciation her teacher has versus my American English accent. So it's really funny. Um, but then adults are also worried about, okay, pronunciation, because your tongue has already been moving a certain way,
Hmm.
or however old you are. So that's different. You know, the different sounds. In Spanish, we have a sound in which you have to have a little saliva here, to actually pronounce it correctly, which in English we don't have. So,
Yeah.
there's so many challenges with learning another language.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Marcos, direct question to you. How easy, or
Hmm.
can you compare English versus German? Because I've heard that German is very similar to English, and I'm going to say no, but I know no German either.
Yeah, so yes, I can give you briefly about my experience learning German. One, I think 2 years, but I not be consistent learn. I learn and stop, take a break
Mm-hmm.
but I think it have some for English speakers is much more easy to speak because they have some words. For example, ich habe is like English is I have. It's have some similarities English and the German and I think also writing German is harder than speaking German. I can speak in German a little bit, but writing, oh my god, it's, the words is very complicated. They have umlaut, some vowels. Vowels is more harder to use the sound. They have a sound.
Mm-hmm.
Ich habe, ich glaube. You need to use umlaut. Um, yeah, for example, the letter V in German you pronounce like F, Vater, das Vater, and the
Uh-huh.
English is dead. So they changed some consonants. They also change in
No.
German. I think Vedi can comment more about German because he's almost fluent in German,
Yeah.
and he can give some
All
his
right. Well, then.
experience.
Okay, the difference between English and German languages in terms of exceptions to the rules and in terms of grammar structures. For instance, in German language, you have cases, you have also articles, like in English. So I would say that the German language is something between my language, which belongs to the Slavic group of languages, and English, because German language has cases like my language and has articles like the English language. So that's the main difference. Also, the difference in terms of German languages, the fact that German words are much longer than the words in the English language. So, for instance, if I say science in German, it would be Wissenschaft, or I don't know, discovery, Entwicklung. You know, the words are longer, thus harder to remember.
Okay.
That's the main problem. And
the
more
other thing
complicated grammar.
Okay. And the other thing with German, I think I know, is that they add like other words to the end of the word, and they just keep adding and adding. I don't know if those are adjectives or compound nouns or something, but that's how they get those really long words, is they keep adding kind of to the base word. So interesting. Well, I could talk about languages all day, but today we're here to focus on English and inversion. Okay, so let me go ahead and share what I have. My computer's been going really slow today, so let's see. Slide 1, that should be it. All right. Perfect. Inversion. So, basically, I'm sure that all three of you know that inversion is how you say something, but it's kind of the opposite. It's a different order. Okay. So, Ved, you said you've done some English tests and things like that, and so inversion. What can you tell us about inversion from your experience?
From my experience, it's one of the basic things that you have to know about the English language. As far as I know, there are more or less something like 18 types of the inversion in English. So the most common ones are inversion of subject and verb in terms of questions. Then we have the inversion with negative adverbs. Then we have the inversion with here and there. Then with prepositions, prepositional phrase of place when it comes at the front. Then we have the inversions with adverbs and adjectives, and I can go and enumerate all 18 types of inversions that I encountered in my learning career. And
wow,
I mean, I can say that some writers like Shakespeare, some writers who used Old English used inversions much more than it is used in modern English. But regardless, it is good to know how to use it.
Good. Okay. So also, I'm assuming that you watch TV and movies and things like that in English. Do you think that we use it a lot or not so much?
I think that we use it a lot, but we don't recognize it as inversion. Okay. Not that much, but we use it for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Ken, what can you tell us about inversion? Anything to comment on?
Oh yes, it is used in the literature and Shakespeare. And I heard one of the effects of inversion is to reinforce the meaning.
Yeah, probably to reinforce or start with the most important part in your mind.
To put emphasis on something.
That's where I was looking for. Yep. Perfect. Well, it sounds like that is going to be a good assistant today. Marcus, did you want to say anything about inversion before we get started?
I had the introduction in inversion, but for me it's a new grammar in English, and I think I need to learn more. I'm not familiar with inversion, and I don't use it. I think I don't use inversion when I speak it. Maybe something I need to improve in my English also.
Well, I think yeah, go ahead, Ben.
No, I just said that I think that he every one of us uses inversions when we ask questions. That's all.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a very good point. Today we're just gonna look at the basic types. Okay, as you can see, it says version is a changed order of things. There are 2 types. So we're gonna look at the basic today. I think actually maybe a different day we could look at more of those. Because I want to do more advanced grammar, but I don't know how much more advanced I can actually go. Because, for example, for Marcos, I don't think you should focus on studying inversion right now. I think you should focus on perfecting the level you have now in English. I think today will be good for you so that you can acknowledge what inversion is. Maybe if you hear it, you can say, oh, hey, that's inversion. That's a great place to start for you. But as far as using inversion, it might sound incorrect. You know what I mean? If you use it too early in your English learning. So my suggestion is maybe not use it, but just know it's there for now, okay? For example, like a mixed conditional, a mixed conditional is normally the second and third conditional because they use the past tense, but you can actually use the first part of a conditional and the second conditional together as well. Depending on your level, it could actually seem incorrect if you're doing an exam or something like that. So that's basically what I wanted to say is just the basics of inversion today, okay? So Ken, why don't you go ahead and read what we have on this slide, okay?
Okay. What is inversion? Inversion is a change order of things. There are 2 types. Subject-verb inversion. New word order becomes verb plus subject. For example, on the clouds floated an angel dressed in white gold. Why? This is a common literary technique used to give emphasis to the sentence and to make it sound special or unusual.
Okay. So basically what Ben was saying is literary, as a literary technique, which Shakespeare, no one speaks like Shakespeare. We call that Old English. So questions about this? Any questions? I mean, what can you understand from this sentence?
You inverted the word of verb, right? Subject verb.
Yep. Right.
Can I say something?
Sure.
On the clouds, it's prepositional phrase. Then we have the main verb floated before the subject of the sentence. It is not the normal order of word in this case. So we have the prepositional phrase at the front, then the main verb. Actually, we don't have an auxiliary, and then the subject. So it's not normal. So the word order it's inverted. Is not normal. Right?
Exactly. Good. Ken, did you want to say something?
Yes, because it sounds lyrical or poetic.
Very poetic.
Lyrics use this kind of, how can I say, inversion technique.
Exactly. And so if you think about it, we're using this as on the clouds. Okay, so then you think clouds. You're in your imagination, in your head, you start seeing the clouds, and you see floated an angel. Ooh, an angel is floating. Okay, dressed in white gold. Wow. So you kind of go from like the big picture, and then something smaller, and then something smaller. So you're really, as we say in English, setting the scene. We're kind of, if you're looking at a play, you'll start with the setting, what's in the background, foreground, things like that. Then you'll talk about the people and then what they're wearing, which is what we're doing in this part. So pretty good. All right. So I have one question. Actually, I'm a bit 50-50 on this one. So on the clouds floated an angel. If we were to write this in, you know, subject, verb, complement, etc., very basic normal English, we would say an angel. Now, my question is we have an angel dressed in white gold, could be the entire subject, because dressed in white gold actually fits with the angel, okay? Or we can change it around. We could say an angel floated on the clouds. An angel, no, this isn't what I want to say either. An angel who is dressed in white gold floated on the clouds, okay? So actually, I'm going to type that sentence so we can all see that. So an angel who is dressed in white gold floated on the clouds.
And
okay. Yes?
in this case, I think that floated is intransitive, right? And if and this rule with a prepositional phrase of place is used only with intransitive verbs of movement, right? Or some verbs which indicate movement or directions, intransitive verbs of movement and direction, right?
Yes. Okay, yeah. So a transitive verb is an action verb. If you want to put it a little simpler, yes. Okay.
Okay.
What about this sentence? I mean, floated in this example, I mean, there is some kind of movement, but we're actually, I didn't know if I should put an angel who was dressed in white gold. But I think who is in the present is because if you're looking at a picture of this, for example, a painting or something, you can put yourself in the moment. Oh, the angel is floating at the moment. Okay? Or the angel floats, I guess. It could be a habit, something that's normal. The angel was floating as a past action. I don't know. As if it were a picture, okay, and it happened in the past. So you can really change the verb tenses, and that's kind of a challenge as well, because it depends when you're saying it and when you're referring to the action happening. Okay, just like you can tell stories. Oh yeah, first I go to the store, I buy this, I do that. So I'm using everything in the present tense. But I could also tell it as I'm thinking of it when it happened in the past. I went to this store, I bought this, I did this. So English is quite confusing in that sense too, because you get to choose how you want to portray the actual story or the idea of something. Okay, so you can play with the language, which is really fun for a native, not fun for non-natives. So, all right, so any other questions or comments with this sentence?
You use a relative clause in the sentence, right?
A relative clause, yes, with the who, an angel who.
This is the reduction, the result of the reduction, right, of the relative clause.
And also, where they have an angel dressed in white gold, this is one of those advanced, I don't even know the technical name for it, honestly, but it's when you can remove certain words and it still has the same meaning. So I wrote an angel who is dressed. In this case, you can say an angel dressed in white gold. We've removed who is because we don't need those words. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Very complicated. Fantastic. All right, let's move on to the next page here. And Marcos, I'm going to have you, oops, too fast, read this, okay?
Okay. New order, subject, auxiliary inversion. New order become auxiliary plus subject plus verb. Example, on no account must you smoke indoors. Why? In the example, we use inversion for emphasize and the power after the verbal and time expressions such as on On no account, never, no sooner, hardly, barely.
All right, so very good. So who wants to try and put this sentence in kind of the normal English order? Or do all three of you want to try by writing in the chat box for me? I know how I would say it.
Who is smoking doors? Who are you smoking doors? Smoking doors.
Okay, so normally we'll start with the subject, verb, and then complement. So any ideas on how we could, on how it would be the normal sentence, the basic?
Who are smoking indoors? Who are smoking doors?
Who are, if you say who, you're asking a question, and this isn't a question in this case. Ken says you must smoke indoors on no account. 4. I think mine is the 4.
Mistyped, sorry.
That's okay. All right. So that's one way to say it. I personally
can you say you must on no accounts smoke indoors?
Yes, you must on no account smoke on indoors. I actually would change the on no account to never. You must never smoke indoors.
Or you could say under no circumstance.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can be flexible with how you make the negative part on no account. On no account just means never. No, don't do it. Impossible. Okay? So this is pretty interesting. Questions or comments?
No.
No.
Perfect. So Ved, if you want to, you can read this next one. One moment. Okay.
So it's my turn, right?
Yes.
So did you see that? Why? In this example, inversion is used to form a question. This is an obligatory use. Had I known this before, I wouldn't have come. In this example, use inversions in conditional sentences without if. It is used to sound more formal or polite. This is third conditional, right?
Exactly.
Hypothetical or unreal in past. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Had I known this before. So so we have 2 parts here. Okay, so did you see that? As Ben mentioned before, in any question, we're already using inversion. So this is something that we use that you might not know. Okay, so this one, did you see that? It's super simple question. Are you there? Who are you? Who are you? No. Yeah. So, there's some inversion things that are quite normal. And as it says here, it's obligatory. You have to say it like this. Okay? Now, as far as this sentence or any of the conditionals, not only the third, okay, you can change the subject. So, I'm sorry, change the order. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So, for example, if we want to put if I had no.
If I had known this before, I would have come, right?
There's that, yeah. Okay, so if I had known. What they're doing here is this is a more advanced conditional that is only relating to this part. There's 2 types of inversion, in my opinion, when it comes to conditionals. For example, if you have a general, let me do, if I were you, I would go to the party. Very basic here. Okay, so if I were you, I would go to the party. Now, an inversion in this case could be, I would go to the party if I were you. Okay, that's when you change the 2 sides, both, copy and paste, and that's it. What they're doing here is this is only in the third conditional because we're using the past perfect. Had I known. Okay. Questions with that? Does that make sense? Do you see those two different types with with conditionals in general? Marcus, what do you think?
No,
Is that okay?
Yeah, but in this case, is for you use without if, right? The sense conditional sense without if.
Because it
Right.
is inverted, right? But like,
How would it be with it is in this case?
If I had known, I wouldn't have come. There's some upper level conditionals that you had better, for example. You can say, or this inversion. There's other types that I've never really, I think we might have done it once, but I don't have a ton of experience with doing the upper level conditions.
Rebecca, can you give an example with had better, please? If that's possible.
You had better. Let me write this. You
had you better, or
no, not like that. You had better. Had better is used as if it were a modal verb. You had better clean your room, or you will be in trouble, for example.
Okay.
So basically, this is a different. It's how do I say this? It's a conditional, but used in different speech. So if you don't clean your room, you will be in trouble. Okay? If you don't clean your room, you will be in trouble.
Okay, but can we invert now this? Had you had better?
No. In this case, no.
Okay.
Good question. I mean, it's very similar, and that's, again, one of the confusing things in English is that you think, oh, had better, oh, I can change that, but not in this case. So again, it's kind of that limbo area, that gray area of English where it's, you think you can do something, but exceptions don't allow you to. Okay? How's that?
Yeah. Conditionals are pretty wide area.
Why is there a gray area with conditionals?
No, it's you can express conditionals in different ways, you know, and it won't be always the case that you will have to use had or all these three conditionals. You can use certain expressions to create conditionals, and I think this had better is also one of these I would say exceptions or other ways of creating conditions, just to my humble opinion.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, to say one sentence, for example, I like chocolate. I really like chocolate. I love chocolate. I really enjoy eating chocolate. I enjoy chocolate. My favorite food is chocolate. I mean, you can really express the same sentence in different ways, but it's also different degrees. I'm saying I like chocolate. I really like chocolate. I love chocolate. I'm in love with chocolate. You know, and so just by changing one word or adding another word, it really changes the intensity. And if you can change the intensity, that changes your level, your understanding, your knowledge of the language. So the more details you add in English, normally the better. Now, my exception to that is when you are literally translating from your own language, like when people here in Spain do. They start and they want to say, you know, this really complicated structure, sentence, whatever, in Spanish, and they try to do it in English, and they just block. They can't think of anything like, oh my gosh, how do I say this? I don't know. And it doesn't make sense. And so in those cases, what I tell people is, okay, go back to the very basic subject, verb, complement. What is the most basic information? From that sentence, I like chocolate, then add more information little by little in order to say, chocolate is the most beautiful food in the world. I love it so much. I couldn't live without it. Okay? So you go from something very basic, and little by little you add that intensity. All right?
Okay.
Lots of good stuff today. Okay, let's move on. And Ken, I think it's your turn But yes, so these are, there's just a couple of pages of these. So these are basic inversion things that we've seen today. So I don't know. Okay, now it's going up. So we're going to practice. We're going to practice.
Oh God, I left down. Then I heard him talking about me.
So this is going to be a guessing game today.
No sooner. I think
No
no
sooner.
sooner than. No sooner than.
Okay. Do you know why you want to use no sooner?
Because sooner is a comparative, so than, like more than, sooner than. That structure.
Okay. Any other comments from you guys? Marcos or Ved?
No.
No.
Okay. So good. Well, I like no sooner. No sooner had I left than I heard him talking about me. So tell us what this means, Ken, or at least what do you understand from this sentence?
No, I left. I heard
Nothing. I understand nothing.
maybe kind of. It's not literal meaning. Maybe he heard, that person heard him talking before he left.
Not before. This is no sooner is just as something happened, something else happened. So just when you left, you immediately heard him talking about you. Okay. So basically you're talking you and two other people. Okay. You say, okay, bye, see ya. You start walking away and one of those people talks to the other person about you. Okay. And then you hear it. So first you leave and then you hear him talk about you.
Oh yes,
How
yes.
does
Right after that, he heard about him.
He heard him talking about you.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So conversation, you leave, you hear him talk about you.
Right.
Very complicated. Lots of things going on in that sentence. So Marcus, do you want to try the next one?
Okay. I need to choose where or where I, right?
Correct. I were or were I?
Okay, at the party, I would have had fun too. Where at the party? Let's see, where I at the party, I would have fun too. I were at the party. I think I will choose I were at the party. I would have had fun too. Yeah. No, but in
Okay,
this case, it's inversion, right? It's inversion. Should use were I, right?
Well, technically, yes.
Yeah, right. Were I? Because it's inversion. At the party, I would have it. Yeah.
Actually, I were in this case doesn't make sense. So were I at the party? Now I want to ask, this is a very confusing sentence. I actually would have written this differently, okay?
Yeah.
Because were I is, okay, let me tell you, this is a conditional. Okay? I'll let that go first. And then the second part of this information is this is a mixed conditional. Now, I would not have written this as a mixed conditional. I would have written this as a true third conditional. So
this
yeah,
is
because it's this word, right?
This is the mixture between second and third conditional, right?
Correct.
Second in the if clause, third in the would clause.
So, yes. And so if I had written this sentence, I would put, if I had been at the party, I would have had fun too. Okay. Yes.
In this case, you mix present and past, right? Present conditional and past conditional, as they wrote, right?
Well, in this case, were I is you're referring to a past, but the difference is that in the second conditional, okay, we use the past simple, but it does not mean a past action. That's the complicated part, because the second conditional is
subjunctive, right?
Exactly, the subjunctive. The subjunctive basically is something hypothetical, a wish, maybe that it can't. I wish I were taller. I physically can't make myself taller, but it would be nice. But it's impossible. So you can wish that you were taller. I wish I were taller, but it will never happen. Okay? So in this case, this person is saying, I would have liked to be at the party. I wasn't. It's in the past. I can't change that. So that to me is a direct third conditional. Okay. So that's my first little pick at this.
Rebecca, in this case, for example, I say where I at the party for us sounding word, right? Like that or speaking like that is correct to use, right? So
Yes. Yeah, no, it's fine.
that is not common. That's not common using in, right?
In my, well, for me, no. I mean, as I said, you can say if I were you. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a basic second conditional.
I will
You
not
can
do
say,
that.
were I you, I'd do this. You can say that, but again, it's not very common.
Yes, if I were you, yeah, in this case it's okay. But where I, that no, yes, this is weird. Yes, but
It's very confusing. The first time I saw subjunctive written as instructions, or it's like command, yeah, in Spanish, I thought the book was wrong. So that didn't happen.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's good. There will be some moments in which things sound completely incorrect to you. You just have to be like, okay, I need to ask somebody about this because this doesn't make sense. That's all. Okay.
Okay.
Experience with the language. So good. All right, Bud, why don't you read the next one for us, number 3.
What you are saying is completely wrong.
Okay, so what you are saying is completely wrong. That is a correct yes sentence. Why did you choose you are saying?
Because it's an embedded question, right? It's an embedded question. And in this case, we don't apply inversion. We can in certain cases with verb to be, but in normal grammar, we don't apply inversion in this case, right? Because it's not it's embedded question. What are you saying? Actually, this whole part, what you are saying, works as a subject in this sentence, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. This is called, I think this is an example of a subject question. For example, who are you? Okay, so I'm saying, who are you? This is where the actual subject is who, the question word. So what is doing kind of the same focus, but we're also referring to you in this case because that's the context that we want to use. So yes, this is something normal that we would say, but it's inverted. Normally, I mean, you look at what you think it's going to be a question. It's not in this case. What you're using is the words you're saying are completely wrong in this case. What you are saying is completely wrong. So what is not used as a question word? Does that make sense?
So you cannot say what are you saying, right?
That's
verb to
like,
be in the WH question. Verb to be into verb to be in WH question. You cannot apply in this case.
Right, because what are you saying is, I don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. What are you saying? I don't understand. That's a real question. And we use inversion in questions. So we're using this kind of, there's...
That is interrogative, right?
Number 3
this is interrogative, and other one is a positive sense.
No, it's not interrogative, right?
In number 3, no, it's not. What are you saying? Yes, is, and that's why we're using inversion, but it's a different case for this. What you are saying is completely wrong is, I've removed some information, and with that removing of that information, I'm changing around the sentence. So if I say you are saying is completely wrong, doesn't make sense. If I remove what you are saying is completely wrong, I need something more there. What you are saying, the words you're saying are incorrect. For example, So with removing that information, we're changing the subject, and that's why we're using what, but what is not a question. More or less. Anyone else want to try to clarify this for me? Ken, do you have any advice?
The English structure, yeah. You are saying is wrong. What we need what to make sentence, correct sentence.
Yes. Is that more or less okay? I feel like I've completely made a mess out of that explanation because I was mixing the two of the question words, but 3 in this sentence structure is not a question.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to 4 as we're running out of time anyway. All right. So I'll read this one. So now to escape from him, and so she jumped energetically onto the train. Now was the time, now the time was.
Now was the time.
And why did you choose that one?
It's a drill for not conversion. It's a drill for that.
Inversion?
Inversion, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you could say it was the time, or now, or it was the time to escape. Is that okay? Do we see?
I don't know, but I just chose that option because yeah,
Is it okay?
the purpose of this drill.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So you could also say now. This is a complicated situation because the person who's saying this sentence, now was the time to escape, is you're putting the listener in the same situation as the speaker. And you're saying now, but you're also referring to the past because we're using was and jumped.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's one of those things that it's like a story that people are telling, but putting you in that moment in the past. Okay.
Sorry. So in this case, now was the time to escape. This is correct one, right?
Now was the time. Yes.
Okay.
And you say now because you're putting yourself and the listener in the situation, but referring to that past moment.
Perfectly clear.
Oof, okay. All right. Okay. So with that, we're going to stop with inversion. Obviously, we need a couple of classes. We'll do a lot of these classes in the future. So next year. So before we leave, all I just want to mention is that we have class on Friday at the same time. It's going to be a business class about how to impress your boss, the employer. Basically, information tips on what you can do in order to kind of start off with a good impression, but without them physically seeing you. So should be some good tips for those looking to apply to jobs in an English-speaking country, or just in general in English, or in general to start. All right. So we will work more on inversion. It's very complicated. Lots, as Ved said, there's 18 different types of these. So it could take a long time. So thanks for joining. Ved, it was great to meet you. Good job. Thank you for coming and explaining everything. Marcos, it was a pleasure. And we'll work on some writing things, I promise, eventually. Okay?
Thank you, Rebecca. And see you next time.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Ken, it was always nice to see you too. Don't think it's not. So
Yeah.
will I see you on Friday, Ken?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. Well, everyone have a great day, and we'll see you hopefully on Friday, okay?
Okay, have a great day as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.